maybe you should. No, I've got to get pizzas to that observatory over there. And so you get attacked by some like smoke monster, and you like the pizzas fall off, and you're like scrambling around, like, oh no, somebody needs the pepperoni.
So I'm swimming through 30 weight motor oil.
Why are these new additions to your game that your intention was to release this fall? What are you doing?
Their primary focus should be surviving litigation.
Someone take his phone. I'll do it. Just give me a key card and a red button that turns off Randy's Wi-Fi.
It pisses me off that they lump racing in with sports. Then you look at this insert F-bomb, Mario Kart and Sonic Racing lumped in with F125.
An aimless rant. We were just angry.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
What's up, everybody? We are live
Yo.
and alive. It is episode 53 of the Hardcore Casual broadcast. He is Jay of F1 podcast fame, and I am Mason of radio infamy. What is going on, Jay? And we are the conversation at the table behind you. How you doing, Jay?
Man, I'm doing pretty good.
You seemed a little stun-locked there.
No, that was faking.
I didn't figure you were actually, like T-posing or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to the episode tonight. Obviously, we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm, as a podcast person, I'm also looking forward to the F1 season getting back together. They did their winter testing this week and still are in Barcelona. So it was cool seeing the cars back on the track, and especially this is a year where all the regulations are changed, so the cars look totally different. Every 4 years they do that. So looking forward to getting the fuel pod back to going again here early March. But played some crazy games, some of them based on what we talked about last week, which I feel like it should be the purpose of this show, that we're able to instigate people into action on some of the topics that we talk about. So really interesting week. I know you've had a crazy busy week. I really haven't until today, which was so asinine all you could do was laugh at one point. It was that bad of a day. But we're here tonight, man. It's good to see you smiling again. So let's have a fun show, man.
Good to see you, man. And yeah, just to touch on that, obviously it's been a really challenging string of months, and then especially recent weeks. Like, Jay and I have both had our little bouts with the flu and whatever respiratory insanity has been going on after the flu. Yeah, and all of that. And for the last several months, so there's been a lot of stuff going on, especially this week. But not the least of which, one of them that I would get into is we touched on it before, but I'm just happy and I'm thankful for like Jay and friends and any of the viewers that sent thoughts and prayers, anything, and my dad, has been not well, and it's been a process over months, and we've been trying to, it's his heart, been trying to get him in through working with the VA, trying to get him in for a surgery, and it just took a crazy process, which I'm sure you're all too familiar with when it comes to VA and all of that, and it was just a nightmare, and we finally got him in. We had Snowmageddon here, if you haven't watched the news, so we, not common to get this kind of snow and ice down here. So his surgery day was Monday, and I was not about to let him not make it. So we did what we needed to do to get him up there, and he had the surgery, and they found basically there were two blockages. They got to one, and then they're going to get to the other one in 30 days because apparently the dye that they use, I'm not a cardiologist. It might come as a shock to viewers to hear that. Yeah, not a cardiologist. I don't know how all this stuff works, but I guess the dye that they use to help them locate the blockages and address them, like it's very hard on the kidneys, and they had already used so much on the one, so they're leaving the other for 30 days from now. So the one that they did get on Monday was a 95% blockage, what they call the Widowmaker. And so he was that close. And in fact, January 7th, he had to be hospitalized with the flu. And that's actually where I got the flu, was being at the hospital with him. And it looked like he wasn't going to pull out of that. And after knowing this, it's kind of a wonder that he did. And so, yeah, he got an 80% blockage in another one. That's what they're going to do in 30 days. So looking forward to getting, not out of the woods yet, but he's feeling so much better. Looking forward to getting him out of that. So yeah, anybody that's sent thoughts, prayers, anything, keep them coming. Positive vibes, Robux, HEB loyalty points, whatever. Just send all that you can as far as positive thoughts and vibes to my dad. He appreciates it, and I do as well. So thank you for any of that, any consideration that you've given to my family, and just thank you, Jay, to shouldering the weight of all this stuff and working with me and just being there as we did this whole thing. So thank you for that. Thank you, everybody, and yeah, it's I'm glad that we're finally getting some good stuff going again. Yeah. So, is there anything else that you want to hit on before we get into some of our topics here?
Well, I know we got some crazy topics that I feel like we're going to get off on 30-minute tangents on. So I did want to, last week we talked about the Fable reveal. And I did want to say I took the time, and, a lot of people will play a game and then a couple years later they'll dive back into it for a little while. I had not played the original Fable since the year it was released in 2004. And so I never even knew about the anniversary edition until I saw it show up in my Steam feed as a result of this new announcement with the new one.
Did they just upgrade textures? What did they?
So it's a 4K that, or HD,
upscale.
Not 4K, HD upscale is what it is, which was enough in and of itself. But they also added the Fable: The Lost Chapters content, which I had never played, and a bunch of weapon packs that apparently were part of that Lost Chapters piece. So it's available on Game Pass for free to stream, or you can buy it on Steam, and it's on sale on Steam right now for $11. But why pay for it when you can play it for free? So anyway, absolute pleasure going back and diving back into that, and I just wanted to kind of highlight that tonight because it was a really cool thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got to watch. Obviously, I've been not sleeping the greatest with all this stuff going on. So, but it was last week, right, that we watched the video that we watched, or was it the week before?
No, it was last week.
Okay, where we watched the video had just released that day of the new gameplay trailer or gameplay sort of footage of the new one, and I was pleasantly surprised. I have been kind of concerned about Fable because
I was shocked.
Yeah, because we had that one thing years ago. Was 2018, 16? I mean, it was a long time ago. It was a little short, brief cinematic announcement trailer that was maybe 20, 30 seconds long. And then we've heard nothing since then. Absolutely nothing. And so I was concerned, and to see what we saw, I am incredibly impressed with what we saw. Everything looked great. Everything looked smooth. The character models looked impressive, looked absolutely amazing. The guy from the IT crowd.
The deployment of magic was the thing that really grasped me the most.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how it looked.
Particle effects,
coming out of the caster's hands versus how it looked either coming out of the ground or out of the sky. The lightning one, dude, I'm a big lightning magic guy. And I was just super impressed with the effects. And I also like the stuff about, each townsperson has their own daily routine. And there's been other games that do that. But, we've reached an age where games will tweak a mechanic, but you can almost see where the other game it was inspired by, right? So we don't see a lot of what I would call crazy original content anymore. And this looked pretty original to me. And that's just my opinion. I obviously can be wrong. But which we will find out, I'm sure, in the comments next week. But it looked wholly original to me, and I really enjoyed that. So
yeah, it looked really great. I was, like I said, I was super impressed, and yeah, the whole the villager thing where it's not randomly generating villagers. If you watch something, which obviously we're talking about a vastly different economies of scale here. Whenever we're talking about the villagers in Fable versus something like Cyberpunk, but whenever you have that, you've got a bunch of different sort of things that they'll just kind of randomly mismatch together on stuff just to kind of randomly generate people on the street different voices, different tops, bottoms, heads, hair, all this stuff, and just kind of randomly generates, except for the sort of like curated characters. But Fable, the environment is small enough and the village is small enough that even though there's a lot of them, they're all sort of handcrafted. So there's not like randomly generated village people, so to speak, but they're all these individually like constructed people that have lines and jobs and stuff specifically for them. And now, granted, a lot of times whenever it comes to stuff like this, which we've seen, in fact, we've seen it in Fable before, but there's always these mechanics that get hyped up in games, and then once you get in there, you can kind of see the strings, and it's like it's cool. But you get how it works, and it kind of becomes repetitious, and it's not as novel as it first seemed. So this could be one of those things as well, or it could be something really super cool. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out.
Well, you think about it though, we're desperately waiting on 007 First Light.
Yes.
Does it have a ton of Hitman DNA in it? Absolutely. And then we're talking about the Expanse, and does it have a metric shit ton of Mass Effect DNA in? Absolutely.
Probably even more now.
Mass Effect can't compete with the graphics, obviously, but this Fable thing, I mean, it kind of blew my mind. It really felt like and still maintained that hold on the original game and why we loved it, with the British humor and the ability to grow your character from a small child. So all definitely interesting pieces.
And the sort of they nailed that look, even with the sort of the different art style, the more realistic approach to the looks of the characters. They still managed to capture the sort of like signature whimsy along with their particular brand of sword and sorcery fantasy. Like they like captured that perfectly. Like the sort of like whimsical looking plants and homes and things like that. Like I think they nailed it for all of it.
And I don't know if they did or not. I don't know if Peter Molyneux did or not, and I don't know if you've seen this, but the original animated, like 1975, The Hobbit.
I have seen it like once before, a long time ago. And
the creatures on that, it felt like that's what inspired some of the Fable went with some of the more child, and this is not a depreciation of the word, but a childish view on some of these creatures like kobolds and golems, and it looks really cool. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Kingdoms of Amalur, which we've both played, and is one of the most underrated RPGs of all time.
I want somebody.
We could do a whole episode on that on that game.
I want somebody to buy back, like I think somebody does. I mean, somebody does own it, but they've just not done anything with it. I believe.
Well, they did
THQ
that new DLC.
It, right?
Yeah. Fatesworn, the new DLC, which I haven't even made it to that yet in a replay, but
it's new DLC in the old engine. I would like to see them update the whole thing, current graphics, all that stuff, revisit it. I would love that. That was one because of for those of you that might not be aware, Hall of Famer. Well, I don't know if he's still a Hall of Famer. Is he still a Hall of Famer, or did that
he's
kick
not
him out?
In the Hall yet because
is he not in the Hall? Well, then he might not make it all. Well, somebody who should be in the Hall. Kurt Schilling. Kurt Schilling started former baseball pro, started a games studio and made that
because he's a big nerd.
Yep. And then apparently there was a lot of like tax stuff and some shady bookkeeping or something weird. I don't know. It was a whole thing. Maybe like so there's videos about it. But anyways, it shut down, and so this was a criminally underrated game. They basically shut down the studio almost as soon as it released. It was just a huge bummer because it was an RPG that played like the old school God of War games. I mean, it's like it was an action RPG that felt like God of War and
the weapon sets were legit.
Yeah. So if you didn't get a chance, go back and play it because it's great. The remaster, it's like it's kind of the same thing where it's upscaled. I don't think they necessarily made the textures any more detailed or anything like that, but I think they just kind of like upscaled it. I think maybe got 50 or 60 FPS for it, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's good. All right. Well, I wanted to go ahead and start off with something. So just a word of caution. We'll start this off with a word of caution. That is, everything you've heard about GTA 6 in the last 3 weeks is probably bullshit. So that's what I wanted to touch on first of all. And it's just insane. We're at a point where obviously GTA was delayed, and now we're moving it off to far later in the year. And because of this news vacuum that was created by this delay, anything, literally anything, is just being snatched up and used to just run away with everything. If you were to type into Google GTA 6 right now, and especially if you typed in GTA 6 and then clicked news, I guarantee you the thing that you will probably be inundated with is that GTA 6 will not have a physical release. And I think that that's bullshit. So let me go ahead and share the screen here. Add this to the stage. So here we go. This is our one of many articles that you can find where they're talking about GTA 6 will not have a physical edition at launch. It's claimed. That's the first thing. This is a leak, and everybody is running headlines making it sound like it's confirmed. One, it is not, and then two, the leak is by it's a leaker known as Garrick Zadari. You know, the legendary Garrick Zadari. Yeah, there's a reason that you've not heard that name before. It's because he's not a well-known leaker. This is not somebody that's got a reputation. Now, he has gotten 2 leaks before. That's all I could find on this guy. That's Polish. And the site that he's associated with, this PPE here, it's also a Polish site. So if you go to the site, you have to use Google Translate. But he has gotten 2 things before. Apparently, this guy is connected to the actual physical game distribution in Europe. So previously, he had basically informed people that there was going to be a physical release of Oblivion Remastered, which launched digitally in April and then had a physical launch in October. He said, hey, there's a physical launch coming. Okay. And then there was another one where we had a physical launch of Flight Simulator 2024 that was going to be coming. And then also the Switch 2 release date for Sonic Racing, whatever. So that was his big claim to fame, was these things. And it's because he has access to distribution or is involved in that some way. So if you go here, you can, again, it's all in Polish if you go to the actual sites. And even then, it's very little. But they essentially claim, oh, yeah, there's no physical release. And then there's mixed feedback about whether it's going to be delayed by weeks or months or whatever. But all this time, what they are saying is that, oh, there's not going to be a physical release at launch, and it's because GTA 6 and Rockstar Games, they were trying to prevent leaks or gameplay footage getting out there before they're ready. And so I think that's bullshit. And we'll get into why, but I wanted to first get your thoughts on that. Jay, what do you think about the claim? What do you think about the veracity, the likelihood, and anything as far as that goes?
Well, I'm with you on this one. I think they're going to absolutely get a physical edition. Here's the thing, though. Even if it were true, I don't give a shit. I'm going to get digital anyway.
Do you think that it will be a physical edition but delayed, not on release date? Because that's what the claim is. The claim is not that they will not have a physical release. The claim is that there will be a physical release, but it will follow the digital release.
No, so I don't agree with that.
Okay,
I think it'll be together. I think they can make too much money on some type of collector's edition.
100%. That's exactly what I think on this one. So for this one, the reason that I think it's just not going to happen is that, one, there's too much money. Now, what I can believe that is happening is that they are putting off shipping of the physical games until far later than a lot of these points along the chain are accustomed to. Because if you don't know, we kind of have this vision that we go to GameStop, Target, whatever, wherever you're getting your physical games, if you're one of those people that gets physical games, and you kind of have this thing that, oh, it releases today, boom, there we got it, and maybe they got it the day before or something like that, and that's just how it works. It takes a whole lot longer to process this thing. I mean, these things are put on ships at times, depending on where the discs are constructed. They're put on these cargo ships. It takes months, weeks to get all this stuff where it's ultimately going to end up going. So it's a much longer process. Now, what I can believe is that they would hold off and wait for a later date to determine what they're going to put on the disc and get those discs produced and pushed out, and maybe even try to find some novel ways of getting the copies to different stores or something like that. But I cannot fathom that they would forego or even delay a physical release because it's just too much easy money.
Yeah, and they love money.
Yeah, and they are going to be wanting to break every single record that they can. What they're going to want to break the record for most money made in 24 hours, most money made in 48 hours, most copies sold in this time period. And yes, it's true that the vast majority of game sales, especially in like the US, are going to be digital sales. But physical copies 100% still sell, and they still sell by the millions, especially at various markets overseas. So especially where internet connections are not nearly as quick, things like that. So there's just too much money to be left on the table, especially if you're going to be wanting to break these records. And also, there are very few things now that happen where back in the day, before downloading online was kind of the norm, whenever there was a release, we'd have these midnight releases. You'd go to GameStop, you'd line up, you'd hang out with other nerds and wait for the release and walk in. There are very few releases now that can get that generated again. And GTA 6 is one of the few things that can generate that, where there will be people that are waiting outside of physical places to get it. I just cannot believe that they would not have a physical copy at launch. And again, the only thing, you're going to be bombarded with this story, and it's coming from one person, one leaker, and it's a guy that has previously gotten things about the physical release of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Switch 2 release of a Sonic racing game, and Flight Simulator. These are not big blockbuster news that he broke.
Every press outlet jump on it because it's going to get them clicks for having
Exactly. And that's what I hate about it. And then I know that this one, Jay and I are going to be a little bit divided on this one to some degree, I suspect. And that is that we're going to come back. We're going to come back to the money aspect of it. We're going to come back to the price of GTA 6, which has still not been confirmed. Now, you might also see a lot of talk about the price and saying like, oh, so here's one where I'm going to share this here. So let's look at Gaming Bible and their headline. Their headline is GTA 6 pre-order price isn't as bad as we thought.
Gaming Bible is the worst.
Awful.
They are the worst.
Yes. They will, which Jay and I have talked about this before, they'll do things like, oh, new DLC for this game releases and blah, blah.
And it's a mod.
It is not DLC. It is a mod. So, Gaming Bible. And unfortunately, they are not the only ones doing this, guys. They are not the only ones doing this. But so what this is actually about, so they go here and they talk about how, oh, it's going to be $80. And they reference the Insider Gaming Weekly podcast. And they're talking about how, like, oh, this guy here, this Henderson guy predicted GTA 6 would launch at $80. Now, they even say that speaking around the 52-minute mark, this is where he makes this claim. So I've actually gotten to the point where this happens, and I want you to hear exactly how this comes up. So let's all listen and see if this is insider information, breaking a leak that the game is going to be $80. You ready?
You think the price, sticking with GTA, let's give this out there. Again, these are predictions, not reports. These are our opinions, which we are allowed to have, though some on social media would think we can't. I think $80.
There you go. Did that sound like some breaking news, some insider leak? He explicitly said, this is a prediction, this is an opinion, this is not a leak, this is not news. He thinks it's going to be $80. This article and any article like it that you see regarding the price of GTA 6 right now is bullshit. So that's what. This is where we'll differ.
No, I agree with you. But
no. I mean on the price, the actual price, our prediction.
Okay. This is the bad part about it. So if that guy says it, and then another podcast weighs in and they say it, and then a bunch of them say it, and then content creators are like, okay, it's going to be $80. At what point does Rockstar's executives sitting around the table go, shit, they already think it's going to be $80?
See, I don't think that'll happen. So what is
I'm
your...
not saying it will. I'm just saying that's a realistic thing to think about.
But let us defer to Randy Pitchford and his experience on that. He fell on the sword there last year. But what is your prediction for the actual, again, prediction for the price of GTA 6?
$80.
See, that's where we're going. I still say it's going to be 70. It will not be over 70. Obviously, they'll have the collectors and the special and all that stuff. And, you know, like you said, they'll have the shark cards and whatever else. But the standard edition will be $70 is my prediction. Again, back to the same reason that they will not, I do not think that they will forego or delay a physical release. It's they want all the sales that they can get. And going up to $80, people would pay for it, but they would lose some people. We've demonstrated this numerous times on this show where sales were lost, and it was because of the price increase. We've had multiple commenters talk about it, but yeah, I think they'll keep it at 70 because they want that massive sales number, and then whenever they drop online, they've got the biggest install base you could ever imagine.
And I just want to say real quick so that we don't make the same mistake that those guys made. For everybody that watches this while fumbling with your morning coffee and Dunkin' Donuts on your way to work, we're both just making a prediction. We have not talked to anyone at Rockstar for comment. But he thinks it's going to be standard price. I think it'll be 80. I think regardless, they're going to be money. They're going to need their own press.
They could make the standard edition $150 and they'd still sell millions. They'd still break.
And I still think they'll hit all the financial targets.
Oh, there's
not
no
worried about that either.
There's no doubt. And you know, even the like we've talked about, the whole lawsuit in the UK, what appears to be pretty straightforward union busting. That whole thing, that's not going to slow sales at all. And I mean, and that's not a criticism.
If anything, it'll encourage them.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it too. You know, do I like what they did to those employees? No, but I do want to play GTA 6. Those are the news items that you're going to see. Now, I did find one news item. So here's the thing where it's like what we just covered. That's been the bulk of the discourse and the news that you'll see around it in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I did see one thing that may indicate news in the weeks to come. So this is not a leak or anything like that. This is merely an observation and something to keep an eye out for. So on Reddit, somebody noticed that Rockstar actually has a playlist for their GTA 6 trailers. And you see here that they've had two trailers, and here we have the two, you know, showing that there. But it says that it was updated yesterday, which would indicate that perhaps they have a video that is uploaded but not published, that they have added to the playlist but doesn't appear yet because it has not yet been published. So this is not a prediction. This is not a leak. However, it's just something here that could potentially indicate that a new trailer may be coming out soon. Could also be something as simple as a foreign language version of, the second trailer or something like that. So not reporting this as any news, just wanted to show maybe a little something coming up. Who knows? Perhaps as a bit of a make good for their delay. And regarding that delay, I did want to touch base on this. So our last prediction or at least that I had planned, was because I know that you have said, and I want to know if you're still holding to it. You have said that you still do not think that it will be releasing in 2026. You think that it will go into at least 2027, that it will get delayed again. Are you still holding by this?
Yeah, I'm saying it'll get delayed again.
Okay. Yeah, and I think now how committed am I to this prediction? Not very, but I think they will hit it. I think as much of a just ordeal that it has turned into, I would think at this point you gotta know that you have no choice but to hit this one now. Otherwise, it's going to be an absolute mutiny. Is it going to cost them sales if they delay it again? No, of course not. But God, please, just make it. So mine is not a bold prediction. It is not a prediction that I am confident in, but I'm hoping they don't delay it again, man.
Well, my thing is this. They've already got people salivating. So a delay will just put them in some type of frenzied fever dream. So I don't think it's gonna. It could actually help. But I'm gonna die on that hill that it's getting delayed again.
Well, so there you go. Just as a little bit of a word of caution, like whenever you see these headlines or whatever, just dig a little deeper, look into it a little bit closer. It frustrates me. It irritates me. It drives me nuts. It makes me mad to see them get carried away and intentionally lead people like that to get clicks. And that's another thing I say, like whenever, like I don't ever want to do the clickbait thing. Whenever we put a video out there, we don't want to name it something that's clickbait and then it's flipped around, like release a video that says like, has a sad face and then it says I quit above it, and then you click on it and it's some, it's not what it looks like. I hate that. And so, yeah, this just infuriated me. And obviously GTA 6, it's got a lot. So there you go. Again, all the news stories that you have read, and likely all the news stories, or at least most of them that you're going to read in the weeks to come, are bullshit. So that is my thesis in closing.
You heard it here.
Yeah. What would you like to? We'll go with one of your topics. What would you like to touch on, Jay?
I definitely want to retouch for the 13th time. Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Since it kind of got stealth announced because they kind of had to, and then it didn't, and then Yves Guillemot, the CEO, pulled a Randy Pitchford and said, we're working on a bunch of different remakes, and basically gave the nod to Assassin's Creed Black Flag because that's the most requested remake. But and the team went on to say that regardless it's going to be moved back due to what's been going on recently.
Well,
I haven't seen it, by the way, but there's also some concept art from the Prince of Persia cancel thing that apparently looks fantastic.
So, and we'll talk about Prince of Persia, but just as a quick summary of Ubisoft's no good, very bad 2026. Here we are on the 29th of January, and they have had a hell of a one for this. Ubisoft is not good. So just a list of just some recaps. Let's see. We had the major restructuring where they basically split off, like they canceled tons of games, they delayed tons of games, and they split off into like 4 different creative houses for various sort of styles of games. They have like one's focused on adventure and one's focused on FPS and all that kind of stuff. So we had that. We had massive layoffs and job cuts. We had strike calls from unions. Again, talked about the game cancellations. There's some ongoing live game issues whenever it comes to Rainbow Six Siege after the hack that Jay had brought up a couple of weeks ago. and oh yeah, internal messaging and leadership PR problems. That's a whole
The
thing.
division.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been, dude. They have. If talking about Google in the news feed again, go to Google Ubisoft news, and you will see just a smorgasbord of horrific PR news articles out there. Yeah, they have had a rough one, and even more so, like we talked about before, whenever it comes to the Prince of Persia remake and the fact that they canceled it, claiming that it didn't reach their level of whatever they said, like their standards or their particular levels of not perfection, but they just didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve. So initially that was like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Like, did they? Because we talked about how obviously there's no easy game to make, but the quickest shortcut to making a game is to do a remake. So what made it fall below your standards? Was it that you tried to rework the play style or something like that, which has been what we don't want to happen? We want to recreate. If you need to modernize it a little bit, to kind of throw in some tweak the controls to be more similar to what we're accustomed to now with a lot of these familiar things, okay. But we want it to feel like what we felt like back then. But the other thing that now Luke Stevens mentioned that he had heard that it was basically finished and still canceled. So I don't know what's going on at Ubisoft. If it was canceled because they tried to tweak gameplay or something like that and could not achieve something better than what they should have just done, which was go stick with the original, or if it was essentially completed and they just cut it to take a write-off because they didn't think that there were enough people that would buy. I don't know. What
You got to figure somebody was doing the math on the cost of a launch versus what maybe and again just total speculation, but are we setting it to where the first 30 days of sales are covering the cost of the launch? And if it doesn't meet, then we don't launch.
I mean, that's one of the whenever we have something like this, that's one of the risks. So Prince of Persia is a well-known name, but it doesn't have
for
the same
older
level,
gamers.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same level of gravitas that it did 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Whenever we had the Sands of Time and all that stuff. They did do a thing recently where they had like a 2D or I guess like 2.5D side scroller. Prince of Persia game.
Yeah.
It was actually good. I played it. It was fun. Obviously, it was not the Prince of Persia that we know and love. It wasn't the same character. It wasn't the same gameplay, but it was fine. And it was a modest success for what it was. It did not sell the way that they wanted to, but it did get more attention than I thought it would get. I think perhaps maybe they thought that would just take off more. But again, it doesn't have that instant pull that it used to. It has name recognition, but it doesn't have that pull. Like somebody says Prince of Persia, like you said, maybe somebody that's not a hardcore gamer, not been around for a long time. Maybe it's a 16-year-old kid. They hear Prince of Persia, they might think like, oh, that sounds familiar. I've heard of that, but they're not like, oh, dude, they didn't have the Sands of Time. They probably never played the Sands of Time. They don't have what we had. And yeah, I don't know if maybe they just sort of like overestimated the demand for it, where there is plenty of demand there for sure. But maybe they just thought that the demand was like somewhere like GTA 6. And in fact, it was, more like some other sort of a remake, like I don't know, I was going to say Oblivion, but Oblivion's even a lot more than Prince of Persia at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what went wrong. I am very curious, and I'm sure at some point Jason Schreier will probably write a book about it, or it'll be a chapter in another book about what exactly happened, why it got canceled. We will know at some point. I just don't know how soon, because I'm very curious as to what went wrong for Prince of Persia.
Yeah. Same.
Well, that was basically the whole this again, the no good, very bad 2026 that Ubisoft is having was my other big game point there. But to talk about something else which we had talked about before, and I guess just kind of touch on some disappointment with games and maybe even the Game Awards, as it were, and that's High Guard. So High Guard released. Now I don't have any articles pulled up. Yeah, but I don't need to. You guys have read it. You guys have read the articles. You guys have seen the videos. It sounds like I was telling Jay before the show, because Jay's like, I care so little, I haven't even popped into it at all. Which we have apathy. Well, most people are just like, I don't even really care. And then the people that do, what I've heard, basically, if I was to summarize all that I have heard about this game, is that it is basically the okayest game release of the year, so far. Like, it's just okay. Like, there's nothing.
Like,
it's not
good for all seasons games.
Well, it's just that it's like, well, it is fine. It is serviceable. It's not, it's not atrocious. It doesn't lag. It doesn't drop connection. You're not, glitching through walls or anything like that. But it's also not doing anything novel or unique. It's not Arc Raiders or anything like that. It's just in this thing where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess it works, and that's it. That's it. I mean, we all saw it. We saw the trailer at the Game Awards, which, if you look back, Jay and I we did a live stream reaction of the Game Awards, and it's on there where we watched it and we're like, okay, I mean, it looks kind of cool, but I guess whatever, like, all right, but then it's like, neither Jay nor myself believed that was the one more thing. We did not believe that was going to be the last trailer at the Game Awards, and I just and Keighley is even sort of like doubled down on this. Like, people had been posting stuff at him, and he responded on social media basically saying that, he loves this game. He really believes in it. And I don't get it, man. Like, you whiffed, and you don't want to throw the game under the bus, but also I would say just don't say anything. I'd say just don't address it at all. You can say, hey, the team. Yeah, just like, and maybe just say, hey, the team worked really hard. They did, but just don't try to gaslight people into thinking it's something it's not. Especially, not only was it the last game at the Game Awards, it was the one more thing, but the way he introed it while doing that, he was like, hey, under total secrecy, this game has been developed by the teams that brought you Titanfall and Titanfall 2 and this, and everybody's like, oh my god, we're getting Titanfall 3. Oh, we're gonna get Titanfall 3, and it's like, ta-da, and it's
High Guard.
Yeah, and everybody's like, wait, what is okay, and then it's like, okay, they're riding mounts. I guess that's kind of unique, and then that's really about it, and it's just this hero shooter kind of thing. And it's like, it's a few years off the
like Overwatch with melee.
Yeah, and mountable saber-toothed tigers. I don't know, man. So if they, during the Game Awards this year, obviously the end of this year when they do the 2026 Game Awards, they have got to knock that one more thing out of the park. They cannot have 2 straight years of duds for the one more thing. Otherwise it has no meaning anymore.
I swear to God, man, they'd have been better off if Todd Howard announced a super special edition of Skyrim.
Well, yeah. Well, even like the High Guard itself, if they would have just announced at the Game Awards, they would be so much better off right now. Like, if they just announced, if they just had their world premiere and boom,
somewhere in the middle of all the gadget games.
Yeah, just throw it in there. Throw it in there like any other game. Don't have Jeff Keighley say from the people that gave you Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
All of this. It just like world premiere, boom, show exactly what you showed. Okay, next award, and move on and just make it a thing. We would not have near this discourse. But the fact that it was built up and hyped up, even in just this short span of 15 minutes from him saying it to the end of that trailer to then realizing that it really was the last trailer, all of that, that is what is working against them, is that hype that they had no chance of living up to. And again, I have to assume that there was a financial incentive for their positioning at the Game Awards, because there's no way, like you had mentioned before, on a show that had the announcement of Divinity, the announcement of the spiritual successor to the Knights of the Old Republic games for Star Wars, with Casey Hudson at the helm, in a show where you have those two things, there is no reason that this should have been the last trailer that you showed, that you ended the night on, that you hung your hat on.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, but yeah, that I just want to get that out there. High Guard, yeah, this is how you don't hype a game. Again, whenever it is what it is,
tell you, dude, I'm gonna take it a step further. And say I have less than 0% interest in this game.
Yeah, that was one where it's like I was like, okay, that looked kind of cool, I guess. You know, this is interesting, but I never even played. Whenever it released, I was like, oh, that released. Okay, cool. Yeah, I have no interest in it. It didn't grab me, and then just
I didn't know it released.
Yeah, it just didn't grab anybody really, because it's an oversaturated market right now. Like,
yeah.
You know, the thing that it was going for, and it sucks because obviously game development takes years. You know, I think there might be some people that think that it takes that's a quicker turnaround time than it is, but I mean, we're talking years. So by the time you recognize a trend and you're like, hey, let's juice that for ourselves. Let's jump on that train. The train is gone by the time that you get there. And it is we have seen it so many times. And I hope sorry, still getting over all this stuff, but I hope that this is the death of the live service like plague that we have had. I like live services. I've got no problem with there being live service games. I like that there are live service games, but not every game can be a live service. There's only so many people that can spend only so much time and only so much money on a game and focus on these things. So there's just going to be games, and whenever you drop something with this expectation that you're going to have hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands of people concurrently, there's almost no way to do it unless you are incredibly unique or part of some like already well-beloved franchise. So this constant thing of just cranking out cookie cutter games and expecting to get tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of concurrent players, it's just not going to work. And yeah, I hope that we see the end of the live service game. So I don't know. You'll have to let me know in the comments, guys, what you think, if that's something that you agree with as well. Also, while we wait for Jay's return, I did want to say thank you again for everybody that watched the most recent video that we put out where we talked about Starfleet Academy. That is by far the most comments I have ever seen on a video, and I usually pride myself on replying to every single comment, and this was a time where I could not keep up with it. I read them all. I have read them all, but it's so many of it. Again, I'm not the lore guy, so I was the one that didn't like it, but I'm also not the lore guy. So I saw a lot of like lore arguments and things like that. It was kind of educational in that extent. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate the comments, the interaction, the likes on the video, and joining the hardcore casual community. So thank you and welcome. And welcome back, Mr. J.
Well, unfortunately, we don't do this full time. That was my boss.
Oh,
so I left you a private chat message. Sorry.
That's all right. It didn't pop up for me. There we go. Now I see it.
Okay.
No worries. We vamped. We hung out. We chilled. So all good. But do you have any other game related?
I don't. I gotta admit,
most of my stuff has been
movie, TV
heavy
heavy
this week.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So that's what we'll move into. And this is one that even whenever you sent it to me, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to watch that. I have been obviously with the stuff with my my family and other like personal stuff going on. I just been a little discombobulated, especially this week and last. But I thought this was a theatrical release, and then talking to you before, like just before we went on air, you were like, no, dude, it's on Amazon Prime. I'm like, what? Crap. Like, so, I wish I had known that. So otherwise we could have been talking about this together, but maybe we'll have to go into the finer details perhaps next week. But yes, Jay, you have watched Wrecking Crew, the like sort of like buddy comedy movie with Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa, right?
I have. So they're brothers in this. And they're anything but buddies. Don't wait.
Yeah. Just go on. I thought about it too. Move on.
So Dave Bautista is a Navy SEAL commander, and feels like
presently at the time or retired.
Well, he's still training.
Okay, so he is actively in the military in this.
Yeah. And then Momoa is his little brother who's been exiled to Oklahoma.
Hey, now since it is Jason Momoa, I must ask: is he not just the little brother, but the sort of like the free spirit of the family?
Of course, dude. I do. When I texted you this morning, I was like, Momoa. Yeah. He's free spirit. He's black sheep of the family. He's a local police officer who's also in a motorcycle gang. And looks more motorcycle gang than cop. He's sort of dating Marina Baccarin's character. Anyway, they end up in Hawaii. I'm not going to tell you why. And then the plot that unfurls after that is like it's like a bad version of Bad Boys with some John Wick.
But a good bad, obviously, because you love the movie.
A good bad. Whereas Mike and Martin Lawrence's character sort of get along. These two do not at all. I mean, I'll leave that alone. But the big bad's played by the guy, and I don't know his name, but he's played by the guy that played in the Netflix Dracula limited series. But Ned from Spider-Man is in it. Frankie Adams that played Sergeant Roberta Draper in The Expanse is in it. And Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett, Boba Fett, and about 10,000 clones, is also in it. It is very well done, man. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm just gonna, like this morning when I texted you back, I told you it was a tight plot. Bautista shows the most range I've seen him display probably since Glass Onion, which even in that's very shallow. So that ought to tell you something.
He did a movie with Brittany Snow that I really liked a lot back in the day. It was like a post-apocalyptic kind of a thing with Brittany Snow that he did years ago that I really liked.
I don't know if I've seen that one, but yeah, and Baccarin starts off and it feels like a throwaway role for her, but she comes into her own as the movie progresses. And dude, we've talked about this a million times. Sometimes movies are just good, dumb fun.
There it gets coming at you. There you go. Like I said, we're at the tail end of this. We're not past it yet. We're at the tail end.
Well, we keep getting hit with the ice, dude, and it just brings it all back.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
But the brutality of this movie, and I've got two words for you: curb stomps. Is John Wick level. I mean, it might even exceed John Wick level in certain things. And then and this is not really a spoiler, but if you can make a movie where you have a fight scene in somebody's little one-bedroom house, and the backdrop music is Making Love Out of Nothing at All by Air Supply, And instead of going, what? You're like, oh my God. And you're ear to ear smiling. The director did a good job. It's well done.
Well, that will be one of my points of order this weekend is to watch this movie for sure and get caught up. And then maybe we can go into the plot and tear it apart next week.
But I told you before the show as well, I realized we were divided on Star Trek and there's reasons for that. But if we end up divided on this,
end of partnership.
Yeah.
Well, and also
apparently there's 93 people out there that would enjoy that. But
no. I think I don't think they wanted to see the partnership break up. I think they just had a bone to pick with you. A lot of people.
And that's fine.
A lot of people.
I'm 51 years old, man. Don't give a shit. So, but anyway, yeah, you should definitely see Wrecking Crew. It is a fantastic movie. And it wasn't on my bingo card, dude. It was like I just saw it listed, and it was late, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this.
Well, I know that Jason Momoa and Batista have been like friends for a long time, and they've wanted to do something like this together for a long time. And this is something that I have seen other people do and heard about it before, whether it's TV shows or movies, where people get to a level where they can kind of call their shots and determine what they're going to do, and then they will shoot a show or like a limited series or a movie in Hawaii, so they get to hang out with their friends in Hawaii and call it work. So it's like, hey, if we ever get to the point where we can have like a company credit card and expense some stuff, we're gonna do a live show in Hawaii just because.
And I'll tell you something else too, and I highlight this in a lot of movies, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, but neither one of them tries to play like they're younger than they are. Bautista definitely is, and he's not afraid to hide it, man. And he's still got it, for the record, by the way. But I mean, and this is not going to be a spoiler either, but there's a great scene where they're both just sitting there, and Momoa's no spring chicken either. A lot of people don't realize how old that
he's getting up there.
He's been around since Stargate. So, he looks at Batista. He's like, damn, man, I didn't think you could hit that hard as an old man. And for all you wrestling fans out there, he definitely does some of his old wrestling moves.
Nice. We get a Batista bomb in there.
I thought there was maybe a belly to back in there at one point, but I was so mesmerized by the choreography in the fight scenes that I was like, who did the choreography? This is world class.
Did you find out who did it?
No, I did not even bother looking. It was late, and I just ended up going to bed afterwards.
Maybe I'll try to look that up myself also before the next episode.
But I will tell you this: like the plot's not going to blow you away, and if you're looking for a high-minded detective / mystery, you're not going to get that out of it. You're going to be able to figure out what's going on plot-wise. But here's
it's not trying to do like an M. Night Shyamalan like twist,
right? I don't always need it to be a Knives Out mystery. Sometimes I just want to, this is going to happen. But the way we get there is awesome, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, like you said, I mean,
and it's one of those movies.
Yeah, big dumb fun. Like there is nothing wrong with big dumb fun where it's like, you know what? You don't try to insult our intelligence. You don't try to take yourself too seriously. You don't try to act like this movie is more than it is, and you're just along for the ride, and you just have fun. And in fact, there's too few movies like that where they're just where they're just like, we know what we are, you know what we are, let's just enjoy this together, you know?
Yeah, and Momoa is the guy. He's got all the Ryan Reynolds little one-liners. Batista at one point, and again, not even worrying about spoilers here, but Batista is like, man, where you been? He's like, dude, been back at the house with the cast of Dragon Ball Z, and just weird shit like that. So it's just like I said, like you said, it's big dumb fun. So I hope you enjoyed. I think you will. I don't see how you wouldn't.
I could use a good big dumb fun movie right now. So yeah, that'll be a good little release, some little breath of fresh air there. So because right now I've been my son is a huge anime fan, and one thing that I've been doing is whenever I have gotten time, although last couple of weeks, again, all this personal stuff going on, I haven't really gotten a chance to do it. But what I've been watching is I have started the journey that is One Piece. So the legendary anime that has over 1,000 episodes now. Yeah, 1,000 episodes. I have started this.
I will tell you that the live action show is next on my list.
The live action show is actually what brought me to the anime and the live action show. This is one where we talk about it before, and this is we actually talked about it last week, where it's like, okay, whenever we brought it up in speaking of Jason Momoa in regards to the Street Fighter movie, where it's like, what are they doing? What direction are we going here? Because it looked like it was very campy, and so where we land in here. And One Piece is one where they're like, we're going full on anime, we're going full on anime camp, and we're just doing it. And then you have Borderlands that also did a similar thing, and they had two very different results. Now, the live action show, which again was my first introduction to One Piece, was the live action show. It was like the treatments and all that stuff. It was Oda, the guy that did and still does the actual the manga and the anime. Like, that guy ran that show, and so he told Netflix he'll only do it, like he'll only let him do it if he's involved in it. And so he got to write the scripts and the story treatments and all that stuff. So it's greatly condensed for the first story arc of the anime, but it's still very well done because it's the original guy. And that's the difference. Talk about looking at Netflix, the same sort of, overlord that took two different approaches to this, where they let Oda do it, and man, the live action show turned out incredible. And then they did the Avatar live action, and the original creators they started off with the project, and then they left because of creative differences. And boy, did that show suck. So, like, Netflix, take that as a lesson. If you're going to lose the creators of the original due to creative differences, they're not the ones that need to leave. Whoever is having creative differences with them, they are the ones that need to take a walk. But yes, highly recommend the live action show.
That's why there are times, and I absolutely get where you're coming from. In fact, I agree with you 1,000%. But there are times that I am glad that my first initial contact with some franchise or piece of something is something that I have no knowledge of. Because then I don't develop that, and I'm sure a lot of people are having that with Star Trek right now. But there is a lot of times where I'm glad, because, like, with Cowboy Bebop, I had never seen it. I knew it existed. Didn't know the story. Couldn't told you one character's name or what the lore was about. I watched the show on Netflix. I liked it. But that's because I wasn't tied to any of the lore. The Avatar, The Last Airbender movie that had Dev Patel, and it's unfortunate he was in that because he's such a great actor. He is an incredible, loved him in Newsroom.
And writer-director as well.
Slumdog Millionaire, and the monkey one that he did, Monkey Man.
Green Knight.
Unbelievable.
He's Green Knight writes, directs, acts like he's great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad that he was in that. And even that, where I didn't know anything about the lore, I was like, God, this is terrible. However, I do disagree with you on the Netflix show, but that's not because I disagree with you about the show itself. It's that what you just said, they lost the creators of the actual material. I wouldn't have known that. I have no other tie to it other than a shitty movie. So to me, the show was infinitely better than that live action movie.
Yeah, well, I given that, because it's where I started, I'd say starting with the live action season 1 of One Piece, and season 2 is going to be releasing soon. I would say that's a great thing, because that's where I started, and it was watching that made me say, well, let me watch the original source material. Let me go back here, because I loved that first season.
Awesome,
I love that first season so much, and like I said, it does not take long, like a Death Stranding or something like that. It doesn't take long to go from this is weird to just like, this is what it is. This is how the world works. So It didn't take long to go into that, and but I watched that show, and I just loved that first season so much, and that story so much that I was like, let me dive into the actual show. And not only do I obviously want to see what goes on, you know, 1,000 episodes later, but I also just want to know, like, what sort of filler stuff do I get if I watch the anime? Like, what sort of stories did they have to cut out of, you know, because it's a lot of episodes to go here. And so I've been enjoying that. Like, oh, they didn't get a chance to tell this story on the live action show. They didn't get a chance to tell this story, or we didn't get to see this character. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So it's like, it's not like one experience tainted the other one for me. It's like one experience got me there, and then the other experience just sort of like broadened my exposure to it. And it's like kind of like reading a good novel, like back in the day whenever novelizations,
the filler material that the book has that the movie or TV show doesn't have.
Yeah, they used to do that all the time.
That's
with like
awesome.
Star Wars movies and stuff like that. And there'd be like these novelizations of Star Wars movies or whatever, and then some of them were really good, and you could kind of get some stuff where you're like, man, I wish that would have been in the movie, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's cool. You got into it with your son. My son is he's not really. I mean, he loves a lot of that stuff, but like he's a big, and I'm going to butcher these names, but you know, he's a big Naruto fan, and I'll crack on him when I come in the room, in his room, and he's playing. And I'll always I'm like, hey man, are you playing that Naruto Camel Toe Shinobi Striker game? And he'll be like, Dad, you know, kind of thing, and just messing with him on it. And you know, admittedly, like any of my favorite and air quotes anime is all mecha related. Like I'm kind of like old school Robotech. I really loved it.
Gundams.
Love Mobile Suit Gundam. Always have. There's a newer Deus Ex Machina where I played the game and ended up going back to see some of the actual anime on it, and it's really good. But anything I like in that genre is mecha related, just because I love big giant robots, dude. Always
well,
have.
And they still make plenty of that. Like there's still plenty of that to be had whenever it comes to anime.
Not sure. Robotech, man. We can't get Robotech shit for nothing. I'm like, you got to bring that back. It was such a good series. So I don't think it's been around since the 80s.
They also do like Robotech. They also have like all the models and stuff too, right? Like the actual physical like kits.
Yeah, where they have like the Macross Saga is widely considered the best of Robotech, and I think that was 1984. But that's where you had these like almost like F-14 jets that transformed into a robot. You had one of the big aircraft carrier, the Yamato, that was really cool too. Which was basically a helicarrier before the helicarrier. But yeah, you don't see it anymore, and people aren't as into it as they used to be. But yeah, man, I'm happy for you getting into that. I think that's a really cool thing.
Let me know your thoughts as you get further into the live action season 1. Definitely
and we're talking about. I'll probably
your thoughts.
Start the first episode in the next couple of days. So yeah,
well, good. Then we can talk about it. We can talk about it next week along with everything else. And I see here, looking at what you've put on the shelf, I believe that this is probably the next thing that you want to touch on that I am very interested in.
So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, obviously, is, and before I get into the pictures, is the Highlander. And I'm talking about Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. For all the real fans of Highlander, the motto for Highlander is there can be only one. And for most true fans, that is true of the movies as well, because all the other movies were terrible.
I also heard that they also I've not watched the others, and I don't even remember the first one very well, but I heard that the others like basically undermined the actual
So, you know, the whole idea was that it's an immortal race of humans, and then in the second movie they're like, nope, that's not what we are. We're actually a race of aliens that was sent to Earth, and we come from the planet Geest, which was just asinine.
So there's these midi-chlorians.
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly what they did. They midi-chlorianed the Highlander. So anyway, the original movie with Christopher Lambert and the follow-up show was actually not bad with Duncan MacLeod. But it's 1984 was the year that Highlander came out, and here we are in 2026, and we're finally getting a remake with none other than Mr. Nerd Star Power himself, Mr. the original Geralt of Rivia, and
the Cavalry.
Future Space Marine, and the best cameo in Deadpool versus Wolverine that everybody wanted to work out, which was the Cavalry, and you just brought him up. But he released this. This is not a lie. This is not AI. He finally released on his Instagram page this morning his first shot as Connor McLeod. And this is obviously in the present day, because this is not how he looked in Scotland 422 years ago. But this was the shot. This is a better one where it's more of a close up. And I know this resolution's not good, but I wanted to highlight something. Henry Cavill, and you brought this up, is such a stickler for source material. And I want you to look at his hair here. Obviously, not the typical Henry Cavill do. But this is Christopher Lambert playing him in 1984. And you can see where Henry went for that look. Although he made it grittier. I love the long...
And modernized it a bit.
Yeah, I love the long gunslinger style leather trench. And the cargo pants and the whole bit. But
the long coats will just never not be cool.
No. And if you're tall enough to pull those off, then, kudos to you. But Henry Cavill, I think, is going to play a wonderful Connor McLeod. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm anxious to see what the rest of the casting looks like. It's one of those things I've really gotten into lately is I don't care as much about the main cast. I want to see what the supporting cast looks like, because that has a lot of bearing on the movie, man. That has a lot of bearing on how the main guy reacts to and impacts the other characters. So obviously they got to get somebody good to play the Kurgan. I'm really wondering who they're going to go after. Do you have any predictions on who might play the Kurgan?
I have no idea. I don't even know any. Do we, regardless of character, do we know any other actors that are cast in this, even if we don't know their characters?
I have not heard anything, and I haven't been on IMDb to look at it, which I should. I just got these shots before we got on the show, but
because it's kind of like in wrestling, right? Like in professional wrestling, as a professional wrestling fan, like you got a guy, big guy, top guy, no matter how big his ego is, he wants to work with somebody that is good, because they'll make him look good because they're so good. If you put him in there with somebody that sucks, then it's going to break the illusion, and everybody looks bad. So if you have a movie and you have a killer supporting cast, everybody wins. Everybody looks good. You'd rather be a star in maybe a little bit of a slightly less bright in a stellar cast than doing really good in a shitty movie. Nobody wants to be like, oh, they were good in that movie, but the movie sucked. They'd rather be like, oh, that movie was awesome and he did great.
Well, the other piece, and Clancy Brown would be the first to disagree with me on this, but he's got big shoes to fill, whoever does play the Kurgan. I also think that who they get to play Castigear, I don't know if you remember that role. That was the dude he met on the bridge.
Dude, I've not seen any of the sequels, and I barely remember anything about the first one. I remember that I saw it, and that's about it.
Well, then my challenge to you this week, since I'm starting One Piece, is to watch the OG Highlander. Because I have a feeling Henry Cavill's going to play this one close to the chest, and I think it's going to be not a direct bite from the original, but it's going to be close. And then who do you get to play Sean Connery's character? Juan Sanchez Lobos Ramirez, chief metallurgist to Charles V.
I think whenever it's something like that, you just gotta you don't want to try to get somebody that's going to do a Sean Connery impression. Whenever it's something like that, whenever you're replacing Sean Connery or something like that, you've just got to get something completely different. I think you just got to get somebody that's a completely different vibe. So that there's like, okay, these are clearly, two instances. Like you don't want somebody trying to be Sean Connery, because you're never going to be Sean Connery. So whoever they get, I think they just need to just be completely different than Sean Connery.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you don't need a crazy good actor to play the Kurgan. He had very few speaking lines, and they were all pretty cliche. I was watching Shang-Chi the other night again. the dude with the
sorry.
the cybernetic arm, he would probably be good as the Kurgan. I mean, he's got the physicality and the size. I think that'd be good. But they need somebody huge, and it's not like Henry Cavill's a small man.
No,
So
no, he's a big guy.
you need somebody, because Christopher Lambert was he was dwarfed by Clancy Brown's character, and because it needed to look like a true underdog story. So it'll be interesting to see. And then, of course, Brenda Wyatt's character, who's his main love interest. I can see a Rachel McAdams playing that role. Somebody like that. Amy Adams even. So it's hard to tell.
And I'm guessing this is, well, I don't know for sure, but is this Henry's last project before really diving in earnest into the Warhammer project?
As far as I know. And holy shit, it can't be Amy Adams because she played freaking Lois Lane to his Superman.
Do it, you cowards! Book it.
Yeah, I don't think they can do that. But anyway,
they can do it. I mean, we got people that work together all the time. In fact, there was something where Mobland, where you have Pierce Brosnan, and in that show, have you watched Mobland, by the way, on Paramount Plus? It is.
I have watched like 4 episodes of it.
So good, so good. Watch Mobland.
Yeah, those 4 episodes were good.
But Pierce Brosnan, and he married Helen Mirren. He was married to Helen Mirren in the show. And there's some other show that I saw that is also Pierce Brosnan, also married to Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren.
Hey, they could do it. Well, and so can Henry and Amy.
Was that like the Detective Club or the Thursday morning?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something
that was
Murder
good
Club,
too.
Or I haven't watched
Murder
it,
Club.
but I just know that they are on it and they are together.
But I mean, yeah, you got to have. I mean, this is going to be a crazy movie. So obviously they'll film on location in Scotland and New York. We don't have the gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and the wrestlers that we had in the 80s. So it'll be interesting to see who they get to do that scene if they do the Madison Square Garden WWF event, since it would be WWF in the 80s. But I don't even know if they're going to do a modern retelling or make it the 80s. It's hard to tell.
We will see. I mean, you got Cody Rhodes doing acting. You got Roman Reigns doing acting. So yeah, they even CM Punk. Yeah, they could do it. But
as long as they don't get, and I love Dwayne Johnson, but please don't get Dwayne Johnson to play the Kurgan.
He might do that. Although he seems to really be wanting to focus on like really more like dramatic roles and kind of like, I'm sure he'll do action movies again. I think right now he really wants to kind of like get his cred up. He seems like he really wants to get that Oscar nod, at least the nod, at least to be Oscar nominated actor Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And unfortunate, which this is, it's stupid, but I remember this was a thing whenever Adam Sandler did Uncut Gems, which was great.
Movie.
But he really wanted to get nominated and maybe even win, and he didn't because his track record. They said, well, you have to have a track record of these kinds of films, which is, it should be based on your one performance. It should be based on your one performance in that movie, because that's what you're getting nominated for. You're not getting nominated for your body of work. But Uncut Gems was incredible, and like that director was so good, and he's also the one that did Marty Supreme, and I'm actually looking forward to watching Marty Supreme. But he is so good at putting anxiety on screen, because watching Uncut Gems will give you anxiety. It's like you just feel tense the entire time. And I remember whenever I first started watching it, I started watching it, and it starts off in his little, the little diamond exchange thing, and you just hear all the conversations that are going on, and I was just like, oh, I can hear them, but I can't make out what they're saying, all this stuff going on. I just stopped. I was like, okay, I've got to come back to this later, and I came back to it later, and it was clearly very intentional that they do all that just to input overload and just to build that tension. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, I don't think. I went from talking about Dwayne Johnson wanting an Oscar nod to talking about Uncut Gems. But Dwayne Johnson, I would not expect The Rock to be in it, just because I think he's wanting to focus on dramatic roles.
And talking about getting screwed out of your Oscar, when Tom Cruise signed on for Last Samurai
Oh
because
my god!
because he wanted that Oscar nod, and then to get totally outshone by Ken Watanabe as Katsumoto.
I will say though, Last
did
Samurai
great.
is one
Oh,
of
man.
my favorite movies. It's one of my dad's favorite movies. I love watching that movie with my dad. That movie is
Well, that's awesome. I
good.
brought that up then.
Yeah. The first time I got to I got to watch it with him the first time that he saw it.
Oh,
So I
okay.
got to his first time experiencing the movie. I got to be with him because I brought it to him and was like, "You need to watch this," and he loved it. Yeah, that movie is so good. And one of my favorite movies, which oddly enough, speaking of Henry Cavill, one of my other favorite movies of all time is Henry Cavill's very first acting role in a film. And that was The Count of Monte Cristo. With
Excellent movie.
Yes.
James Caviezel.
Yeah, Jim Caviezel, guy. I love the guy. Why am I not thinking of his name?
Guy Pearce.
And Henry Cavill plays the son of Fernand. So like a 16-year-old Henry Cavill is in that movie.
Great movie.
I love that movie so much. But one of my favorite books, one of my favorite movies. Yeah, excellent. So I don't know how we got off on this, but that's how we do it on Hardcore Casual.
And I liked Cavill in The Tudors as well. I thought he did an excellent job in there for the role he had.
I still haven't seen that show, and it comes up so often where it's like apparently like everybody and their mom has been on this show, you know. So you brought it
everybody
up before, and it's like, when this person did The Tudors, I'm like, my gosh, who hasn't been on The Tudors?
Well, they needed a lot of people for that show. Henry VIII killed a lot of people, so they needed
a lot of death,
people.
a lot of death during that time. Yeah,
they needed a lot of people for that show.
It was like Game of Thrones in real life,
right? Yeah, I mean heads were just getting lopped off constantly, man. It was We're gonna need a few more extras next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, Highlander, definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, I'll be lined up on movie night to watch this on release night for sure.
Well, so homework.
Here's my other thing too. How do you do it and not do? Please God, tell me they're going to use the Queen soundtrack. I really hope they don't do this thing where, hey, we want to do our own soundtrack. There's that music, Who Wants to Live Forever, that sows itself through the narrative is so important. At least keep that song.
Well, that's speaking of, excuse me. You mentioned in Who Wants to Live Forever. Now that they're doing this reboot in a world where all of the movies exist, are they immortal, or are they this race from this geese or whatever you said? Like which path do they take?
Oh no, that's a thought that's going to fester, Mason. I hope they're going to forget Highlander 2 and 3. With Mario Van Peebles, for God's sake, and just give us. We're basing this off of the first movie as if the other two don't exist.
So then, if they do that, like and this does well, then obviously they're going to want to make another one. And so if they do stick with them being immortal beings, and it does well, and they do want to make a sequel, then it's like
It'll be new.
It's like the Chris Pine Star Trek. We are on a completely different timeline. Like we are in a situation where they are completely liberated from lore at that point because they would be sticking with the original where the others deviated and retconned.
For the record, in case people want to know that don't know this, that aren't super Trekkies, that timeline actually has its own name now. It's been called the Kelvin timeline for a long time in Star Trek lore because the USS Kelvin is what caused when Kirk's dad. The ship
I believe there were mentions of the Kelvin timeline in our comments on that video.
Yes. Oh, there you go. So that's a separate timeline in Star Trek canon now.
I mean, that's one of the things where I told people where it's like, in the comments, one of the conversations that I had was sort of mentioning that one of the brilliant things about that is even if you hate the Kelvin timeline in Star Trek, say you're a Star Trek fan, you've watched all these things, this comes out and you think it is a bastardization of Star Trek. Well, the good news is they intentionally created a separate timeline, so you don't have to worry about it ruining canon or anything like that. Now, like Star Wars, we've got all these things that Star Wars has done that has tainted the well. Now, there's no way to unfuck Star Wars, because without
it's
saying
not a multiverse universe.
yeah, like they would have to say like, hey, you know what? They would just have to come out and be like, hey, we're cutting hard here and lopping that off, and we're starting over right here. Like, there's not a clean way to do it. Whereas in Star Trek, they did like, if you like it, great, and if you don't, it doesn't have to matter because it doesn't actually touch the canon that you already enjoy and have so much attachment to. So if you hate it, it doesn't poison the well, and if you like it, you get to enjoy it.
Well, and the thing is too, and this is what's always been the greatest and worst thing about Star Trek is that, not to get off on this tangent, but is that everybody has their favorite part, but still is willing to admit, yeah, there was A, shitty episodes or B, shitty movies within that time frame that I love. When Scott Bakula's Enterprise launched, it was universally hated across the board. Nobody wanted to see it. Had this weird intro song from like 80s, which I've grown to love over time. And those characters, but the undeniable aspect of it is that these were the trailblazers. These were the guys that came before Kirk and Spock and Pike and Picard and all these people. So like it or hate it, this is the story. And you look at our real history, there's parts of it that suck. There's parts of it that are fantastic, but parts of it that suck. So it's one of those things where you need to take what you like and like it. And if you don't like it, well, you just don't like it. And that's just the way it is. But Highlander's very similar because although more often not 100% people agree that there's only one movie.
So yeah, I'm very curious now. Like I said, now that you've said that they do all this stuff, I'm very curious to see if they go with the original storyline or they go with the retcon. And yeah, like that will be fascinating because if they do go with the original and then they make a sequel, we will have an entirely new timeline, and it would be the timeline that all these like-minded fans like yourself have wanted since the beginning.
Yeah, and you have and I'm not spoiling anything here, but in the original movie, obviously, you have the gathering and where there can be only one at the end, and Connor McLeod's character is left standing. And what everybody wanted to see going forward was just him going through just a series of people showing up, wanting to challenge him for the title, man. I mean, the whole thing was just a gigantic pro wrestling match, really. And that's all we need. Just like with Black Flag and all that, would just give us what we wanted. Give us more of the same with a new setting and a new plot, maybe.
The thing that you did that everybody paid money to see.
Yeah.
Do that again.
Do that again. And, you talk about it all because I know we're both huge fans of time travel. You maybe even more than me, which I didn't think was possible because I love time travel, man. But that's another thing people loved about Highlander because we kept getting these flashbacks of him in the French Renaissance, man, or in the Dark Ages, or rescuing the lady that would become his secretary at his collectibles store in World War II from the Nazis. So, that was what it was about. It was his longevity of character and his longevity through history and all the things he had seen, which is what endeared people to Forrest Gump, for God's sakes, was that he was always the wrong man in the right place at the right time. And, that for some reason that has a pull for people.
Well, I think that if you can tie it into something like that, especially the way that Forrest Gump did, where they took like archival footage and made him show up. You're like, wait, and of course now that's not anything crazy, but at the time that was like, wait, how'd they do that? Wait, what's going on? That was unheard of whenever they made Forrest Gump. But it really, I don't know. It's like the way that and I know that a lot of people. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea, and this is probably not a popular opinion, but because it's so mainstream. I love Dan Brown. I love Dan Brown books.
I love Dan Brown.
I love his writing style, and I love what he does because he does that where he hooks you with reality, where it's like he is telling a fictional story, but you can go to all the places that he talks about.
Yeah.
You can go to every place. You can find every piece of art that he talks about. There's the whole thing chasing the statues that point to different places. Those statues exist. They're not actually pointing at these different. I mean, they're actually pointing, but he's done all this sort of like homework to try to craft a story around the world we actually live in, and it just has this pull to you because like the very first thing that most people, which it's not his first book, but it was the first one that really hit, and that was the Da Vinci Code. That's the one that
Correct.
blew him up. And whenever you read that, there's so many details that he goes in here that are real that you think like, man, like, could this be a thing? Like, could these different works of art or as the architecture of this building, is it saying something? It was really good. And so that's just a really great way to, at least for me, it's a great way to hook people like myself to where you have a fictionalized story around a world we can visit and see.
Well, it's like, and I'm obviously not the person that said this, but all the best lies have truths woven into them. And you said it better than I ever could, but like every single element, asset, physical thing that he put into his book was true. The rose line in the Da Vinci Code. I think the only thing he didn't get right was the pyramid at the Louvre doesn't actually have the full pyramid going through. It just has a tiny one at the bottom. But everything he used, Angels and Demons. My favorite book that he wrote was Deception Point. I love that one. It's like one of my favorite ones. But yeah, man, to weave fiction, you have to thread in a lot of truth. The Highlander.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's kind of the connection where you like Forrest Gump, Highlander is like having those things where it's like, yeah, we can see that, or we've already seen that. We're familiar with this thing, and you have this fictionalized narrative around something that we are already familiar with, and it feels like we're looking at it for the first time or something like that. Like we're seeing a new angle on it.
That's why I ended up getting in almost just an absolute verbal fight with somebody. We were standing out on a dock at break time. I lived in Florida. We were on our 15-minute break, and we were talking about the Mummy movies. And I was like, I love the second Mummy movie more than the first one. And the reason I did was because they took the time to basically say that reincarnation was real and that Evie used to be, in a previous life, one of the pharaoh's, whatever you call it, concubines or whatever, or daughter to Seti, whatever, and fought Anaxamun a couple times. But all that history that they showed around that was, and I loved that, man. It was almost like a time travel through history. And for me, I was a sucker anyway because it was Egypt, but which we still have never got to do our hyper focus on. But
I think more information has come out about some of those things as well. So we'll have to get to that.
We've got to get a 2026 hyper focus going real. But anyway, man, yeah, I love those kind of movies where they weave truth into I mean, there was a lot of people that read the Da Vinci Code, and I know there was a lot of hoopla in the news that, hey, this isn't real. I think everybody's taking this too matter of fact, and they think this is all the truth, and this isn't. I wasn't one of the. I read the book, and I was like, okay, this is horse shit, but I love it. It's the greatest horse shit I've ever read.
I just think it's I think the tourism around all these different sites like spiked, even though they're already like world famous.
And that's
sites.
Another thing. Look what he did. He generated economy off of a fictional work.
And those people don't think that it's real. They're fascinated that they go like, here's the statue, and he said that it was pointing this way, and they go there, and sure enough, it's pointing that direction, and if you follow that line, then you can get to this other statue, and it's just, I don't know, it's just fascinating. Yeah. Like for someone like myself, I love art, and like I love going to art museums, things like that. Anyway, and then to have something like that to where it's like, how in the world, like how much time do you have to spend looking at all these? how many works of art did he look at that he didn't use to like craft this narrative? I don't know. It's just I think it's just an incredible puzzle piece. Or it was an incredible like jigsaw puzzle that he put together of looking at all these different works of art and trying to create a way that they link together. I don't know. It's just fascinating. I love it when they do it. I love it when it's done well.
And you know what's funny? I mean, we're not that separate in age. So saying this, I don't feel bad saying this, but I think the thing that ended up drawing us to Dan Brown was our love for Indiana Jones in
Doesn't
a lot
hurt.
of ways.
I mean, because he is a nerdier, more modern Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and you look at it, and it's the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail are two of the most legendary, possibly fictional, we don't know, archaeological finds of all time, if they're ever found. And I think that drew us, for sure drew me, with the whole Templar piece and that whole bit. And then I got to give some props to Assassin's Creed. I can't believe I'm saying
I was
this.
about to come on to Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that's what drew me to Assassin's. I'm like, okay, it's got the Templars, it's got this. It's
the secret history. Secret history is
Yes.
intriguing. Like that gets me. I love like a good tease of secret history. Even
Absolutely.
if it's, so whether it's legit, which is even more fascinating. If it's like, hey, there was this thing that was documented to exist, and then it vanished. Where did it go? Like it just stopped showing up in history books. What happened? Or something like that where it's like, oh, we did this like in Assassin's Creed, and whenever we kind of talked about what we would do to fix Assassin's Creed if we got to reboot it, and it's like, okay, drop the precursor race, drop the apples of Eden and all that, but still keep that secret history. Have some sort of secret history, secret knowledge, some sort of forbidden fruit kind of knowledge in there that's being preserved. Like I love that aspect of it. Don't lose that if they ever did that. But
and then again, you look at and you leapfrog from that to National Treasure.
I loved. Now the second one,
first National dude, forget it.
Second one was not great. The first one was so fun,
phenomenal.
And I still want that I still want the third one. I still want the third one.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to make it with Nicolas Cage, don't even bother. If it's not going to have Cage, don't bother. They tried that show, and that show was awful.
And then of course we had Dollar General Nicolas Cage as Noah Wiley in The Librarians with Bob Newhart. And it was okay for a TV show.
I mean, even recently, the one on Apple TV with John Krasinski, Fountain of Youth. There's always an appeal for these kinds of movies or stories.
Did you watch Warehouse 13?
It was a show, right? I've seen some episodes of the show. Yeah, I've not watched the entirety of it because I think it only lasted a couple of seasons, if that, right? 1-2 seasons. Or did it go
was
on
like
longer?
5 or 6 seasons, man.
Well, I didn't even finish the first season. I need to go back, and I know it's one that's on my list. But I've seen some of the episodes, like maybe like 3 or 4 episodes, not many.
And their whole deal was every historical relic has some type of paranormal power tied to who made that relic famous. So it was a good show for what it was worth. It was a great show. But anyway, God, we really went off. Where did this start?
That's what we do. That is what we do.
Where did this start? Here. This started with Dwayne Johnson playing the Kurgan.
Yeah. We took the long way home for sure. We always
Welcome to the Hardcore Casual.
Yes, this is how it works here. We often do this. So it's like, we for stuff we release, we'll edit the thoughts down and all that. But we watch here, you get the full unedited.
I think on our logo, you need to add the mathematical symbol for tangent somewhere. I think that would be cool. And then, to the second power, because
I suck at math, so I'd have to look up what that symbol is. Yeah. So, and also, hopefully we'll see. Maybe we can start getting some more. Like I'm struggling to get the one edited video out a week. I'm the editor and all that stuff, guys. And man, maybe one of these days, if anybody wants to work and edit for free, we're taking applications.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. Do you have any other news topics or things on your mind?
Well, so I caught the latest episode of Fallout.
I'm so behind on that, and
I know
feel
and
like
it sucks because I can't talk about it because I know how much you love Walton Goggins and his goggle glasses. So, I try to stay away from spoilers. Although he did wear the goggle glasses again this week without the strap. He wore the leg version.
I'm afraid that I might have already gotten some spoilers from some headlines and some images.
I'm sure you did. Other friends of mine have been telling me that they're like, dude, my feed popped up. It's stupid. I can't even believe it.
If what I see, if what I have seen is what it appears to be, and they don't fix it, there's no season 3 of this show.
Okay, private chat me what you thought you saw while I talk about this episode.
Okay.
This episode was very good, and I can't spoil it now because Mason hasn't seen it. I absolutely would spoil it if he had seen it, but no, that is not true.
Okay, good.
That is not even remotely true.
Thank God.
Yeah, I'm
because
glad
I saw like an image. I was like, no, I can't see this.
Did it involve a long
yes
pole thing? Okay,
yes.
Then no, that is not true. In fact, it couldn't be further from the opposite now because of that.
Okay, good.
Which
that'll be point number 2. So point number 1 over the weekend is I need to watch Wrecking Crew. Objective number 2, catch up on Fallout.
Yeah. So this week we were introduced to a new character that is voiced by one of the most famous voices in Fallout history as a background voice.
Is it Ron Perlman? Okay, I think that answers it.
No.
All right. I was like, who else could it be? I guess theoretically it could be Liam Neeson. Like Liam Neeson's also kind of like famously in there.
We got to see the Gauss rifle in action this week, which was cool. We got to see a new version of Power Armor that I haven't seen, which is crazy because I've been around since the beginning of Fallout, and I hate to sound like Bubba Gump or Bubba, what's his name from Forrest Gump, but I know everything there is to know about Power Armor. And I saw this one and I was like, I don't know what this is, but anyway, that part was cool. The Lucy, Kyle MacLachlan storyline continued this week, which was good. We got to see where we're going because this next week is the season finale. So I'm kind of worried. Because I felt like
would that be 8 episodes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I'm worried, because I feel like where this episode ended, there wasn't enough within an hour to finish out this season.
So either it's going to be rushed or it's going to be a cliffhanger. Is how that.
Which I'm
usually
thinking
ends
the
up.
latter, because they have not rushed anything on this show, which has been great. Because the reason they haven't is because I think of things we've talked about before, where they're paying such a fan service to the fans of the game that I don't think it'll be rushed. I think it's just going to be. I think it's going to be an absolutely brutal kick in the dick cliffhanger, dude. Pardon my parlance there, but I think it's going to be a brutal cliffhanger. So I did watch the next week on Fallout part, and so we're going to get some more Macaulay Culkin in the season finale, which means Caesar's Legion is going to be at play, which means the Northern California Republic, or the NCR, is going to be at play. I'm not spoiling anything here because they showed this in the ads, but y'all know that Deathclaws are in play. So we've got some serious action there. We had some this week. There was some serious Deathclaw combat this week, which was awesome.
I will say I didn't know that Walton actually wore his own product on the show. I was not aware that he actually wore the Walton Goggins goggle glasses on the show.
And I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying they bear a striking resemblance
do you
to the
think they would-
very pair that I want, which is the brown pair.
Okay, I can't not say this anymore. So, I actually reached out to the Walton Goggins goggle glasses company. I have not heard back from them, but I have reached out and I was like, hey, like we're a small channel, but like we're growing. Like you guys are a small company, but you're growing. My co-host has mentioned many times that he would love those. He would wear them every show. Like, you guys up for a little partnership? I have not heard back. We'll see. But they might big time me like Randy has every time I've tried to get an interview with Randy Pitchford. But I actually have reached out to the Walton Goggins goggle glasses company.
Well, dude, thank you
on behalf of the show. You're welcome.
Well, that didn't work. Where's the one I need to remove? There it is. So these are the ones that I'm saying that I feel like I've seen at least some type of similar glass that he's wore in flashbacks in the show.
So they're before he's the ghoul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These are and this was another thing I was talking about with Rob was I hate flashbacks a lot. I'm not a huge fan of them. The Arrow really burned me on flashbacks
because they did it so well for a while, and then then
I was like, dude, we get it. You were on an island. We get it.
Yeah. Like how much more flashback can you have? Like,
but Fallout is one of those shows where I have just as much fun watching the flashback as I do when they're in the present day.
Yeah, I'll have to keep my eyes out for it. But you would have to imagine that they are in fact the goggle glasses, because otherwise he would surely be like, I'm not wearing those. I'm not wearing somebody else's goggle glasses on this show. I have my
and the
own.
funny thing is they never show when he has them on. They never show a frontal of him wearing them, and when they show him in them, he almost immediately takes them off. The two times that it's happened.
Interesting.
So it's weird.
Well, I'll keep y'all informed on the Walton Goggins goggle glasses front. But hey, if they've got social media, which I'm sure they do, feel free to sort of intercede on our behalf if you would like.
Yes, please. If you work there, that would be great. But yeah. I would wear them. I'm not kidding.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
You'd be like, dude, you'd be in private, dude.
I'd be wearing them too.
But
hopefully they're not polarized, so I can still see the screen.
I'm glad you don't have to have this strap. That's why I like them a lot, is going with the limbed version of them instead. But seriously, great show. I'm already looking forward to next season. Who knows when that's going to be? Oh shit, man! Guess what else I watched?
What? Man, you were busy with those things this week. I guess Snowmageddon. Yeah, what else you got to do?
Yeah, we had Snowmageddon. I had nothing to do. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I'm sure you've already heard about the 10-inch pecker on Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
As it turns out, that has not come up. No pun intended.
Wow, that's only thing anybody's ever talking about.
I just keep seeing some little bald kid like images. I'm like, okay, I'll get to it at some point, and I haven't. I've just been with everything going on. I've just been out of the loop. I haven't really. That's all I've seen is the bald kid.
So we're talking about a time frame that is almost smack dab in between House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. So 100 years, give or take, before Game of Thrones, and 100 years, give or take, after House of the Dragon. All the dragons are gone. The Targaryens are trying to learn how to rule without dragons, which makes them a lot more humble, by the way.
Given that was the source of their strength.
Yes. And then we have this guy, Dunk. And I don't know if you've read the books or novellas.
I have not.
But
I've not read any of the books. In fact, my only experience with Game of Thrones has been what has been broadcast.
Okay. So we have this guy, Dunk, who was a squire to a knight named Arlen of Pennytree, or Arlen Stack of Quarters, as I like to call him, not Pennytree. And that guy dies, and basically Dunk assumes the mantle of a knight, even though he's not really one, and he becomes what's called a head.
This
knight,
sounds like the plot of Fallout.
Well, it sort of is, but it's also absolutely the plot of A Knight's Tale.
Which I also love that movie.
But yeah, fantastic movie. Except he doesn't have a Jeffrey Chaucer character. Insert mad fit of coughing. So he becomes what's called a hedge knight, which is basically a way of the realm saying you're a poor ass knight. You don't have an entourage. You don't have a backup set of armor. You don't have backup horses. You don't have tents. You're sleeping under a tree, but you're still a knight. And then he meets a character, Egg, who's this little bald head kid, who is actually Aegon the Fifth. He doesn't know that yet.
Spoilers.
I'm not. This is all in the promotional material. And if you know your Game of Thrones history, if you remember Maester Aemon Targaryen, the Maester at the Wall, that was his brother.
The one in this. Wait.
Egg is a brother to Maester Aemon's character from Game of Thrones.
So older brother then?
I think so. I think older brother, a little bit older brother.
Because Maester Aemon surely wasn't over 100, was he? He was?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If you read the book, he's and not much over 100, but he was over 100. And there's only been 2 episodes, so that's where we are. They're at this tournament.
So 10 inches across 2 episodes, huh?
Well, in the first episode, we get what can only be described as the most graphic version of humans, a human being defecating.
Oh, jeez.
To the point where it is literally blowing out of his ass, which I didn't need to see for the record.
You don't always have to be the first at putting something on TV. Sometimes there's a reason that
right?
It's not on TV.
And then in the second episode, and I'm not ruining anything because this is all over TikTok, of husbands, they're like, hey, this is me and my wife watching the first 60 seconds of episode 2 of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And in the first 60 seconds, there's a flashback when Sir Arlen was still alive, and he walks out of the tent naked with this prosthetic sword.
Is it prosthetic?
It is. I read up on it. It is definitely
I
prosthetic.
researched.
And they're like, well, the funny thing was the actor that played this old bastard, they're like, man, this dude was a trooper because he had to stand there butt naked while we did multiple fittings of this thing and ran a tube so he could pee for real. And he just stood there like a trooper, apparently, while they fit. And then they're like, we had to do fittings because it was so heavy that it kept falling off, which would have been graphic in its own right, by the way.
Quite the thud that would make when it hit the dirt, I would imagine.
So they were doing R&D on him while he was getting fitted for this thing. They're doing R&D on how to make this work. These were the same guys that did all the prosthetic.
The D in R&D being development in this case, not the other.
But this development house did a lot of prosthetics for wounds and injuries on both House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. But so far, dude, it is a very different show. If you're looking for dragons and prophecies and people dying, I don't think this is the show. This is about
for Cleveland steamers and 10-inch hogs.
If you're looking for 10-inch hogs and poor knights trying to make their way in the world, this is the show for you. So anyway, that's my 10-second no spoiler review.
Well, we'll see. I don't know when I'll be able to work that into my stuff, but I think my plate will be full between now and next show with the Wrecking Crew and trying to catch up on Fallout. But we will see. We will see.
And I will be doing One Piece and probably a rewatch now of Highlander because I kind of inspired myself to do that.
Highlander will be on the list. I don't know if it'll be next, by the next episode, but I'll definitely work it in there. And I'm very, very curious to see what your thoughts will be on the One Piece live action show.
Yeah, and I've made it further into Sleeping Dogs, so I'm looking forward to getting some more into that. It's I hate playing it. I really do, because it's like I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do 30 minutes. I'm gonna do 30 minutes, and that's it. But man, the cast is what it's not even the game; it's the cast that's.
See, I thought you were gonna say that you hate playing it because the fact that it doesn't have a sequel is still a pain that this just reopens every time, like a wound.
I don't think I'm far enough into it where that's gonna pain me, but I can see that coming for sure.
Well, even just the fact that we even if it wasn't a direct sequel where it's like, oh, we need to continue this exact story, just give us a spiritual successor, give us that same
what's
fighting
that game
style.
we got coming? That we both thought we saw it at the Game
So
Awards.
it's actually made by I don't know if it's one of the producers or the actual company, but it's made by people that have a history with the Yakuza. It is not a spiritual successor to Sleeping Dogs. It is a spiritual successor to Yakuza.
Yeah, but it looked more. I've played quite a few Yakuza games, and it felt like more Sleeping Dogs than.
But we haven't seen gameplay. We have seen trailers, like cinematic trailers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so all those Yakuza games look like that. Whenever they do it, like they always look like they're very serious and very grounded, and then you get into them and it's coins flying out of karaoke. People, and it's crazy. It's just bizarre stuff. So
I gotta tell you too, I would like to see an updated, with modern graphics version. I really feel like Sifu was a great game.
Yeah, it was,
and
super cool.
I really think, much like this Expanse game that's coming, I don't think they knew what they had. And I would like to see like an Unreal Engine 5, Sifu, or how you say it, game that really nails. I mean, the first game is so good, man. It is so good.
I will say, though, that they did a really great thing, which, a lot of smart developers will do this whenever they have that, where they don't have the staff to get a super, like, high fidelity, graphical powerhouse game. And so instead of putting out like a game with like that looks subpar, they just nailed this like really artistic style of the game, this artistic look, this art style. And so I will say, despite the limited sort of graphical horsepower, they really did a great job with masking that with a really kind of mesmerizing art style.
And I don't disagree with you, man. I think that game was fantastic. And at first I didn't play it because, I'd heard it was all just straight up hand to hand, which I'm okay with sometimes. But I feel like the realism would be lost because you're naturally going to get weapons. And then once I got into it and found out
those are there,
shit, you can't. Yeah, they're there. Yeah, I just think it needs a redo of some sort. Anyway, man, that's all I had.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. I thought there for a second, I was like, oh, probably be a short show. We'll go ahead and get that out. But it is not. We are at our typical 2 hours-ish time frame. So thank you, everybody that watches. Please feel free to leave us a comment, talk to us in chat, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you so much for coming back. You guys keep coming back and watching our stuff, supporting us. It means a lot, especially at times like this. It means the world. So thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Anything else you got other than that?
I don't, man. I'm good. Y'all have a great week.
See you guys.
I must leave you a dude.